when I asked you a leadership lesson you learned the hard way. You said the biggest one was prioritization of time and effort, and you went on to frame that as the ability to delegate appropriately. I always like to make sure we define our terms on the podcast. So when you think about this idea, what does delegation mean to you, or what does it look like?
Okay. Well, first of all, I just finished watching the memorial for our President Jimmy Carter, and I did want to just take a moment and talk about great leaders, and he was one, both in as a as a political leader, but then also tremendous work after. So I salute him today, and just wanted to put that out. When I think of delegation, and I look back at my career from very tactical level, and then when I say tactical, platoon leader level,
Mhm.
responsible as a lieutenant for about 30 men and women, and then all the way to strategic in my last job, where I was on the Joint Chiefs and we were making recommendations to the Secretary of Defense for all types of activities and future force and vision of the force and recommendations, to the Secretary that would go up to the President in many cases. When you think about delegation, when you move into those types of jobs, you got to figure out where you fit, and what can be done by someone else. As a good friend of mine says, only do the things that you must do. Rich Galant, Major General retired, he was the chief of staff out in North Carolina. He and I continue to do some mentoring work together. And he tells every class, only do the things that you must do if you want to be successful. I think it starts with this whole understanding of what is delegation. It starts with you. Who are you as a person? How do you delegate? And of course, I was an engineer officer, construction, combat engineer, and I was very detailed. I love
Mhm.
spreadsheets. When you become a general, you got to break away from that. As you move up in the ranks,
Mhm.
even before general, you got to figure out. Okay, I knew I was very detail oriented, but in my own mind, I knew I had to have more time to do the things I was responsible for as I moved up through ranks. So I think that's the first thing: understanding who you are and how you lead, because you may need to really do some self reflection and figure out, okay, how am I going to change? What are the things I need to caution myself against? The next one is, what is your mission? What will fail if you as a person, as a leader, don't accomplish what will the organization fail in? And then
Mhm.
the last part of that, I think, is understanding the context you're working in. And the context over my career, and as you know, Tom, it's gotten very, very complex, because information that might be very tactical,
Mhm.
very low level, that could be handled by young men and women, no matter what organization you're leading, now in a moment's notice reaches everybody in the world, through mass media. And that
Wow.
context can pull you back down when you're really supposed to stay at the strategic level. And then how do you do that? So that was probably, the keys that I had to learn and evaluate myself. I will give you an example, though.
Yeah.
When I was a lieutenant colonel, and this was very a very good lesson for me. Again, engineer, doing all the great things that we love to do. We all like hands on. I had been enlisted as an equipment operator, and we got a mission, very short notice mission, to go to Honduras and run an exercise for about 8 months after Hurricane Mitch devastated much of Honduras. And my engineer battalion was going to go down and do 3 rotations at 2 weeks at a time. So I went down and spent most of the time. But in the planning effort, when I got out there, I realized that I had missions scattered over 100 miles of the eastern part of Honduras. And there was no way that I was going to be able to be at every site.
Sure.
Even though I wanted to be, I knew I couldn't. So I knew I had to put faith and confidence in folks across my staff that I knew could work in this very austere environment. I mean, maybe some areas we couldn't even communicate. I'd have to give them basic guidance and say, hey, I'll see you in 3 days. Go get the mission accomplished. Here's your mission. And I had a civil engineer, actually, I had two civil engineers. One actually a civilian job. He worked for Walmart,
Hmm.
and he was a land developer for Walmart, and very complex, purchasing
Mhm.
land all the way through a building on it. And I thought, here's the guy we need. And so we picked him to go out and do the preliminary planning on each of the sites and just delegate it. And I said, Stuart, you just let me know if you need anything, get in touch with me, but you got the mission. I'll be out
Mhm.
to check on you once in a while. And he did a fabulous job. But then when it came to the execution of the mission, we had some sergeants, non-commissioned officers that were in the construction trades in civilian life. And we had some very difficult roads and bridges to rebuild. I mean, they were completely wiped out. And these non-commissioned officers, we gave them basic guidance. The engineer gave them the plan, and they executed the mission.
Mhm.
In fact, when I got out there, really wasn't anything for me to do, so I jumped in and started helping place some concrete, just to lead by example.
Yeah.
But I think that was the key: knowing who you had that had the expertise.
Right.
Because sometimes, even though they may be in the military role, they may be able to do that. Maybe they've never done it.
Yeah.
These men and women that I selected for these positions had all done it, in civilian life as well as the
Mhm.
military. So that was the key: right person, right mix. I had trust in them, and they executed the mission.